Hey everybody, Danny Koenig alongside Mallory Winters from NCSA Live. In case you missed it, we just held a question and answer session prime time, asking anything and everything coming our way. Here are the top 3 most asked questions from the week. If your daughter sends videos to a coach or they viewed the videos on your profile, how long should you wait before reaching out to them again if you do not hear back? It's been a few weeks. Tough to tell with the situation.
Yeah. You're a former college coach. So.
Yeah, graduation year is going to have a lot to do with that. If you started getting videos from a freshman, you maybe aren't really recruiting a product close to what you want on your program in 4 years. It depends on if that coach is in season. Again, they're traveling every week. They might, have 20, 25 hours worth of practices, recruiting pieces in between there, events on the weekend that they have to go to. There's a lot that goes into that. It's just a very busy time where college coaches are focusing on what's in front of them. That could certainly have an impact on it. Again, expectations. We always talk about that. If you're aiming to go to Stanford, you don't have the grades or the playing ability to be at Stanford. It doesn't make sense to be sending videos towards Stanford. You may not be hearing back because that coach is not interested. Again, not always the case, but if you're within expectations, you need to kind of consider from a coach's perspective, all right, where are they in their life? And is this a time where they have the ability to get back to me? Again, not necessarily that they're not interested. You just got to make sure that everything is matching up right.
Yeah, and I think it's perfectly fine and reasonable to send a follow-up email. Hey, coach, on this date, I sent over my video. Do you have any feedback on that? Were you able to see it? Depending on how many coaches are on staff, it may be worth reaching out to a different coach. Maybe your position coach, maybe
maybe the assistant handles all that. Maybe they have a recruiting coordinator.
It's not a bad
director.
thing to reach out to somebody else on staff. And then depending on what sport you're working in, and if you're in a club that has like a recruiting coordinator, or if your coach is willing to help out, it's also helpful to sometimes have your coach reach out to college coach as well. Maybe that's someone they have a relationship with and can get some different feedback than maybe they want to give you as a student athlete. So I know that in our organization and previous organization I coached with, sometimes college coaches were even more responsive with us as a staff than sometimes the individual athletes.
Fair enough. Yeah. If the best bet to get on a coach's radar is going to baseball camps at that school or just by emailing, how do you stand out? And this goes beyond baseball.
Yep.
That is a great question. Yes, I think going to a camp at that school can be very beneficial. That is FaceTime with that coach. They're going to know who you are. But you need to make sure that it's the right camp. It's not just skills development. It needs to be an ID camp, and also that coach could potentially be interested in you, right? So it's not only just going to the camp, but it's communicating that interest beforehand. Yeah. Not that you just come into the camp, that, hey, I am interested in your program. This is why I'm coming to the camp, but taking those proactive measures. And that was kind of the next question, or is it just by emailing? Email will get you so far. I think email is great, and that's a good way to introduce yourself. Eventually, you want to get on the phone because you can just tell a lot more about a person once they're on the phone, both on the coach's end and for the student athlete to kind of gauge, what is this coach really about? And then start to ask, hey, coach, are you having any winter clinics? I want to come and be there in person. And of course, that kind of commitment speaks volumes about, number one, an athlete's maturity to be able to do that. But number two, their willingness to kind of dedicate themselves to show up to your event. Yeah,
what we really encourage, the athletes that I coach is don't use camps as your only method of recruiting, because unless you are an absolute stud, you're not going to show up at the Michigan camp and get recruited based on that. So keep that in mind. Be realistic about the camps that you're attending. Don't attend a camp at a school that doesn't have the degree that you want. So I'd say be really specific and be really diligent in the camps that you do attend, because they can be costly, especially when you start including flights and hotels and some of those things. So know that this is a coach that is interested in you, that you've had some back and forth communication with, or that you've got some interest expressed to your high school coach, club coach, whatever it might be, and that this is not just a camp that you're paying for a t-shirt and time with the players and that's it. So just make sure you're doing your due diligence ahead of time, and then using email before, after, as you mentioned, thanking the coach for their time and asking some follow-up questions about what your next steps are.
Yeah, just continue to show interest. And I think it's important to note too that the majority of the impactful recruiting camps aren't going to happen until probably the end of your sophomore year, summer before your junior year, and then moving forward. So again, don't just go to camp thinking, hey, this is my best way to get recruited. You need to be very intentional about that, and the timing of that's going to really mean a lot as well, because quite frankly, coaches aren't recruiting freshmen out of their camps.
Right.
I like this one though. coming up. We could probably do a whole session on this on its own. How much should a player or parent be reaching out versus waiting for potential coaches that are interested?
Ooh.
Okay, couple things to unpack there. It is okay if coaches approach you and want you to be a part of their program. That is very flattering. That is not necessarily the most efficient way to go about this. It would be very lucky if a coach were to reach out and it had everything that you were looking for.
Yep.
Right? Now, again, it's a feel-good. We were doing that a lot as well. But oftentimes, and I was actually using NCSA to figure this out, I could see what a kid's preferences were. So I was coaching at a school, great business program. I knew that kid was interested in business. I had a higher chance of getting him, right, and getting him interested in trying selling him there. So that is one way to do that, but not the best way to do it. You want to, again, kind of control this process. So when it comes down to that, should a player or a parent be reaching out? What are your thoughts here?
Parents, don't reach out for your children. Don't reach out in the name of your children. If you're sending emails as your son or daughter at 11 in the morning on a Tuesday, it's pretty clear that that is not your son or daughter sending those emails. So coaches want to hear from athletes. They want to know that this is a student, a person, a player that they want to spend the next 4 years with. So it really, really is important, students, for you to take the lead. Parents, that doesn't mean that you are in the dark. You have to be involved. You can proofread emails. You can have conversations about expectations, subject lines, follow-up emails. You can help prep for phone calls. You are instrumental in this process, but ultimately, and really, you will have communications with the coach down the line when it comes to scholarships and housing and some of that kind of stuff. But from the forefront, athletes, you have to be the ones taking that initiative.
Yeah, coaches are recruiting the athletes to be a part of their program, and in some cases, coaches take on a parental role. When that student athlete comes to their campus, they're responsible for their well-being, their grades. There's a lot that goes on there. They want to know who they are recruiting and get familiar with that person. With that said, parents always have involvement in what's going on, and coaches understand that as well. By no means are college coaches trying to cut parents out of the process. On the contrary, they want parents to be a part of that process, right? Because I think it helps if you can get the parent on board with what you're doing. Yeah. There's a higher percentage chance that the student athlete is going to come there, right? So yeah, it's simple stuff. All of this needs to come from the student athlete, at least in the contact period. But help them out a little bit, right? Maybe proofread some of their emails or help them put together that video. But those coaches want to know that the student athlete is genuinely interested in what they are doing in order to be able to recruit them to their program. So parents will be involved. Coaches will involve parents at some point. They want parent approval or sign off on all this and make sure that they are really invested in what's going to happen there for the next 4 years. But ultimately, all of this needs to start with the kid. Yep. All right. So let them have the space to do that.
And parents, know that you are being recruited as well. If you are the parent in the stands that's really loudly criticizing coaches, college coaches know about that. If you are the supportive parent that's always, keeping stats and is super helpful and, has your kid there early and leaves late, they're going to know about that too. So parents, know that the spotlight is also on you in this process and that you never want to detract or become a distraction from your son or daughter's abilities.
It's almost like coachability, but on the parent side of it, right? And that kind of supportive nature, because that's pretty attractive to college coaches.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Those were our top 3 questions of the week. We'll see you next time.